This is Blox Fruit, a Roblox game based off the hit anime One Piece. And today I'm going to be putting Blox Fruits to the test, comparing all 41 fruits in the game to the anime to see how accurate the powers really are. And it all starts with the worst fruit in the game, Rocket. Now this fruit you have 5 different abilities. First one being Missile Fist, second one being Air Strike, followed by Rocket Crash and Blast Off. And even though Rocket's one of the coolest common fruits in the game, it's not in One Piece at all. Because the closest ability to One Piece is by the user Baby 5. She uses the Buki Buki no Mi. You guys can see kind of like a Missile Fist she's using right here. But honestly, it's really just a bit of a stretch. Like, that's not even close to this. So for our first fruit, Rocket, I've got to put it straight in no similarities tier. But next up, we got the Spin Fruit. And as the name implies, everything revolves around spinning. Now in the game, this is very bad fruit. I mean, the range is just kind of really low. The damage is kind of mid. And as you guys can see, it's a bit of a trend. I will say though, this helicopter flight looks pretty interesting. And in the anime, the user that uses it is named Buffalo. It's called the Guru Guru no Mi. As you can see, it's pretty accurate in terms of helicopter spin. But unfortunately, this is literally all we ever see him do in the anime. So despite the fact that spin's pretty accurate, like none of these abilities like happen in the anime. They really just freestyle with all of this, which they did a good job of doing. But despite that though, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still gonna put spin in accurate tier. They did a decent job for what they had to work with. But let's see if the blade fruit is accurate. This used to be the chop fruit and it recently got reworked to avoid copyright. So, is it still similar? Now, this fruit actually has a passive that makes it impervious to all sword attacks. If I try to get attacked by a sword user, I just simply deflect all of it. And as for abilities, we have an M1 right here. We have our next ability, Razor Cyclone, which kind of launches you forward. Blade Dance, which is a barrage ability. Saw Shredder, long range ability, and Turbine Flight, where you just use your hands to propel yourself forward. And of course, in the anime, the person that uses the chop fruit, which is what Blade Fruit's based off of, is, of course, Buggy the Clown. As you guys can see right here, however, looks literally nothing like what we saw in Blox Fruits, with the only thing maybe being similar is when Buggy did this. He did his little chop barrage frenzy or whatever he wants to call it. This right here where he's just throwing himself, which I guess is kind of similar to this, but not really at all. It used to be closer. So sadly, now the Blade Fruit's gonna have to go straight in, not even close to here. I can't justify putting it any higher. Moving on up next though, we got the Spring Fruit. Now with this fruit, all of the attacks are spring related based off of the name, and the first one looks like this. Spring Knock, kind of like you extend your arms a little bit. Spring Snipe, your legs become spring, propel yourself forward. Spring Cannon, kind of similar thing, except instead of springing yourself forward, you just jump up and down. Yeah, this fruit's pretty bad. But next up, we got Spring Leap, just launches you forward. And last but not least, the ultimate, Spring Emperor. Yeah, you just go crazy with springs. Overall, pretty bad ability on Blox Fruits, but that stands true to One Piece as well. Because in the anime, Spring Fruit is used by none other than Bellamy. And as you guys can see right here, he just did Spring Leap, Spring Tackle. Like, this is super accurate from what I'm seeing so far. But trust me, it gets even better. Because right here, we can see he's doing Spring Emperor. And it's literally super accurate to the game. Like, look, this is how it looks right there. And then another look at it right here, looks exactly the same. And if you can't see the similarities, you might need to get your eyes checked. But me personally, man, this is gonna be our first of the video, but I've got to put Spring Fruit all the way in copyright tier. This is like stupid close. And because of that comment I just made, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a spring rework anytime soon. But up next, we've got the Bomb Fruit. Bomb Fruit's pretty decent in this game. We have a long range ability, Targeted Bomb, where you kind of just shoot a bomb where you target this, literally like the name implies. Next up, we got Bomb Grab, where you kind of lunge at someone, grab them and explode them. Landmines, where you just set mines on the floor and whoever steps on these will get exploded. Explosive Jump, where you propel yourself forward. And this is a weird pose. Anyways, this is how that looks. And last but not least, Self-Destruct. The more you hold this, the more damage you deal until it's a big explosion, which does stupid amounts of damage. But how accurate is it to the anime? I'd say pretty decent. Now, the user of the Bomb Fruit in One Piece is a guy named Mr. 5. And as you guys can see right here, he just used Targeted Bomb. He literally flicked his booger at this guy and exploded Targeted Bomb. Unfortunately though, this guy, Mr. 5, does not get much screen time, so we don't really get to see many of his abilities. Most of it is just that booger flick, which is kind of disgusting. But one other thing we do get to see him use is kind of like a landmine ability. You see, he puts that little mine down there and explodes Vivi. We also get to see Explosive Grab right here, and that's about it. Because he didn't get much screen time, we didn't get to see him do anything like Explosive Jump or Self-Destruct. So yeah, Blox Fruit's kind of just freestyled for that. Despite that though, I honestly think they did a pretty good job of doing it based off the anime, so this is gonna go straight in accurate tier, actually above Spin. Almost done with the common fruits, we have 2 more. Next up, we have the Smoke Fruit. This one, we got a lot of smoke-based abilities. First one being Smoke Slam, which is a nice little slam down. Smoke Blast, a long-range smoke attack, which is actually a barrage. Smoke Liberation, kind of like that. And then Smoke Bomber, where you kind of fly up and just throw smoke bombs down. One of my favorite common fruits in the game. And as for the anime, the Smoke Fruit is used by a guy named Smoker in One Piece. Kind of an interesting name, I'm not gonna lie. But but he is absolute dookie. Like, he does not do much in One Piece. That said, though, you guys can see this is fairly accurate. Like, just for example, we got Smoke Blast right there. This right here could kind of be like Smoke Liberation, low-key. And of course, we got Smoke Bomber, man. They actually cooked. The only thing they really didn't do, I guess, would be kind of like Smoke Slam, but he's done abilities similar to that. So you know what? The Smoke Fruit, man, it's not going to go in copyright tier, but it is going to go in very accurate tier. They made it pretty close. And last but not least, for the common fruits, we have the Spike Fruit. Now, just showcasing this real quick, this is a pretty trash fruit, I'm not gonna lie. We have Spike Summon, which allows you to summon a big spike wherever you point this at. Whirlwind, which is basically you turn into a Beyblade and start spinning around. Spiky Ball, turn into a ball, and you just start attacking people. And then Spike Barrage. Now, in One Piece, this is the user of the Spike Fruit, and I'm not gonna lie, it's not very accurate. The way it's used in Blox Fruits is not at all how it's used in One Piece. She kind of turns her bodies into Spike instead of using like long-range spikes. What we do get, though, is her becoming this little hedgehog, which is exactly like Spike Ball. Nevertheless, though, Spike Fruit is pretty accurate. I'm gonna put that actually above Bomb. And now we're moving on to the uncommon rarity of fruits, starting with the Flame Fruit. We about to cook. And Flame Fruit has a bunch of cool abilities like blue fire bullets. You shoot out literally blue long-range fire bullets, Prominence Burst, a long-range fire blast, Flamey Vortex, a vortex of flames, rocket flight, literally flying with fire, and most cool of all, Hell's Core, a literal spirit bomb of fire. We all know the user of Flame Fruit in One Piece, Portgas, D-Ace, or Saba, whichever one you want. And I'm gonna be honest, it's really accurate to Blox Fruits. We just saw two abilities that look exactly like what we saw in Blox Fruits. We got fire guns right here, which is the blue fire bullets we saw, just this is red. Of course, can't forget Flame Commandment, Fire Pillar, which is Flaming Vortex. And of course, last but not least, we've got Hell's Core, or Flame Emperor in the anime, bruh. Literally 5 for 5. All abilities 100% accurate. I told you we was about to cook. Flame Fruit, man, is gotta go straight copyright tier. And I'm gonna put that above Spring. I don't know how they haven't reworked that yet. But anyways, enough yapping. Next up, we got the Ice Fruit. Let's see how close this one is to the anime. First off, we start off with the Ice Spear. It's a nice little M1 we can use, like a little bit of a sword. First ability, we got Glacial Storm. You summon a tornado of ice. Glacial Surge, a nice little pillar of ice you shoot out of your legs. Frozen Dragon, a long-range ice dragon that stuns anybody in the area. We have Ice Skating and Absolute Zero, basically just the AoE of ice. And if we compare it to the anime, this is Kuzan, who uses the Ice Fruit in the anime. And we can see right here, he does Ice Age, which is Absolute Zero. He literally just froze a sea beast, bro. You can't tell me that AI. And right here, we got Ice Saber, of course. You can't forget the Ice Sword. They also got that in the anime. And of course, we got Kuzan's Pheasant Beak attack, which is kind of like the Frozen Dragon attack we saw earlier. Just look at this, bro. Straight beautiful. Honestly, the Ice Fruit is pretty fairly accurate to the anime. I mean, not all the moves are that similar. We don't see any ice skating. Cold Storm wasn't used. But other than that, Glacial Surge, Frozen Dragon, Absolute Zero, pretty good. Which in my opinion puts the Ice Fruit in the middle of accurate tier. But what about the Sand Fruit, ladies and gentlemen? With this fruit, we have a lot of long-range abilities, such as Desert Blade. We even got Sand Coffin, which actually stuns your enemy in a coffin of sand and explodes. Sandstorm, where you summon a tornado of sand. Tornado Flight, you literally just start flying. And of course, we got Deep Sand. You throw out a little ball of sand, which explodes and has a big AoE. Very fire fruit in the game, and it's even more fire in the anime, because it is used by none other than Crocodile. And as you can see right there, that was the first ability we just saw in Blox Fruit. So far it's pretty accurate. And of course, we got Sable's the Sand Tornado. Last but not least, Sable's Pesado. Look at that. Just like in Blox Fruits. So honestly, if you ask me, Blox Fruits did a real good job of making it close to the anime, which means this may get revamped sometime soon. Because today, I'm gonna put the Sand Fruit in very accurate tier, man. They made that close. But next up, we have the Yonko Darkbeard's Fruit, the Dark Fruit. Darkness Fruit, whatever you want to call it. This fruit's actually very good in the game, primarily being good for PvP rather than grinding, and we have different abilities such as Dark Rocks, a long-range rock attack, or dark attack, Abyssal Darkness, where you suck the enemy in, pause, and then kind of explode. Endless Hole, you do a little black hole at the bottom that slows them. Ghastly Step, you teleport for some reason, I don't know why that's there. But last but not least, we have World of Darkness, a dark spirit bomb, which you can throw down and explode. Now for the anime, I just want to say this man, Darkbeard, is a straight menace. Like, you do not want to mess around with this guy. But as for accuracy to Blox Fruits, we can see that was World of Darkness right there pretty much. This could kind of be considered like the black hole ability. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, black hole. And we even got the ability where he just pulls Ace in. Like, Ace isn't even close right now, and he just sucks that boy in. Pause once again. Overall, Blox Fruits' Dark is actually very accurate to the anime, although I don't know where they got Ghastly Step from. That man never did that. Hey, I'm actually gonna put the Dark Fruit in copyright tier. That's scarily accurate. Might be time to rework a Blox Fruits the way you guys have been avoiding copyright. Speaking about avoiding copyright, we actually have one of the most recently reworked fruits in the game, the Eagle Fruit. This fruit obviously gives you the powers of an eagle, and we have multiple different things from M1s that you can hold and use that explode feathers, Wind Burst, Feather Storm, which is a barrage, Bone Crusher, and Soaring Talon. Basically the same thing, you just lunge forward and explode them. Now in the anime, this fruit's actually called Falcon, and it's used by a guy named Pell. And I'm gonna be honest, it's not very accurate. Like, we can see he's transformed into an eagle right now, or a falcon, but the actual abilities he uses throughout the anime are not at all close to what we have at the Eagle Fruit. With the only move being maybe close to Blox Fruits is what he does right here. He kind of uses like a Wind Burst with feather attacks, and that's literally the only attack we ever really saw him use in One Piece. Which means the reworked Eagle Fruit has to go straight in the no similarities tier list. Which means this rework did justice if they were trying to avoid copyright, because now it doesn't even look like it at all. And now we have the last of the uncommon fruits, Diamond. Diamonds are interesting because we have a transformation, which you guys can see kind of turns us into like the Ben 10 diamond form, but this also doubles down as a move instead of just a transformation. We use it and it explodes. We also have an M1. Next up, we have Shard Storm, which is a long range kind of diamond attack. Shimmering Disruption, a close range attack that stuns and blinds the enemies, and Prismatic Reflection, which kind of reminds me of like Haku's ability from Naruto. It's just a bunch of mirrors reflecting an attack. Honestly, pretty OP. Now in the anime, this fruit is used by a guy named Jozu. They call him Diamond Jozu. That's his nickname. Get it? Because he has the diamond fruit. Anyways, he doesn't really get much screen time during the entire anime other than Marineford arc. But you guys can see right here, this is kind of like the Encrust ability. So this is him activating the fruit. But the actual abilities he uses, I don't remember them being close to what we have in Blox Fruits. So sadly, we don't see him do none of this or this. But technically, we do see him do this. Which I guess there's some similarity because of the Encrust and then the M1 punch. We could justify putting this in not even close tier because there is little bit of similarities, but not much. Moving on to fruit number 14, we have the Light Fruit. Yes, sir, one of the Marine Admiral's fruits. Now for this test, we're actually gonna go ahead and go with the unawakened version of Light. And you guys will see why in a second. The first thing you'll notice is we do have a little light spear that we use to attack, similar to ice. But for our abilities, most of them are just light based. Like we have Light Ray, Barrage of Light, you kind of shoot up to the air and shoot a bunch of barrages. Reflection Kick, we have Light Flight, and last but not least, Sky Beam Barrage. Now in the anime, this is used by Admiral Kizaru from One Piece. And we can see right here, he does the light kick. So that's one move he's got down. We even got the light sword right here. That's 2 for 2. We got the light flight right here. And we even got the little light barrage he does here. Making this literally 5 for 5 from the anime and Blox Fruits. It's no wonder they changed it from the Awakening because this is scarily close. It's gonna go straight in copyright tier, boys. I'm not gonna lie. Can't go anywhere else. It's main character time, ladies and gentlemen. We got the rubber fruit next. And you know they're gonna cook for this. Now in this fruit, we have multiple abilities that also change when you transform in Gear 2, which we're gonna wait for that to go off cooldown so we can test it out. But for now, we have M1 right here, which is like Gum Gum Pistol. We have Cannon, which is, I guess, Bazooka. We have Smash, which is Battle Axe, I think. And of course, we got the infamous Gum Gum Gatling. Like I said earlier, once you transform, it just basically enhances all those abilities. We have Jet Pistol now, we have Cannon, Jet Cannon, or Jet Bazooka, that one right there, and of course, a better Slingshot. Needless to say, it's super accurate to the anime. We can literally see him doing the Gear 2 pose right now. And throughout this entire fight against Blue and O, we can see Jet Pistol right there, which is the M1 from Blox Fruits. We can see the move where it teleports above, slams down right here, and we get Slingshot. And of course, we get Jet Gatling, man. Such a crazy moment right here. Needless to say, Blox Fruits Gear 2 is very accurate to the anime. In fact, it's 100% accuracy. Rubber Fruit goes in copyright tier. But moving on from Rubber, we've got the Ghost Fruit next. Second to last rare. Now this fruit just got completely revamped almost 2 years ago now, and the abilities look honestly a lot different than they used to. First off, we got Shivering Possession. Next up, we have Wandering Soul, where you're kind of just flying. We got Spectral Release, Surprises the Underworld, and then we got Ghostbusters. You summon 3 clones of yourself, which do the exact same attacks as you do, except they're very weak. Now in the anime, the Ghost Fruit is used by none other than Brook. But I'm not gonna lie, Brook does not use his Devil Fruit that much. Most of the time he fights with his Soul King. And honestly, when I think about it, there's not really any abilities Brook uses that are similar to the moveset we have with Ghost. So sadly, Ghost Fruit has to go in no similarities tier. One more rare left, and that is Magma Fruit. We're gonna showcase this one very quickly because you guys are gonna see we won't even need to show most of the moves. First off, we got Magma Shower, literal fist of barrage of magma fists. Great Magma Hound. We have Beast Ride, which you literally start riding one of the magma fists. And Volcanic Storm, a massive magma fist that explodes into a bunch of other mini magma fists. And when you compare it to the anime counterpart, you can really see that in terms of accuracy, it's pretty down packed. Look, this is a Kainu, the user of Magma. He's super deadly in the anime, and literally this is what he does. He literally just throws out big magma fists or magma based attacks. It is 100% accurate to the anime as it should be. Magma should really be no other way. So for that, it's gonna go straight in copyright tier. And that marks the last fruit of the rares. We only have 2 more tiers left, legendary and mythic. And it's fitting that we just got done with the Kainu because now we're gonna have to move up to Whitebeard. We're moving on to the Quake fruit. Quake's got some very simple abilities. Fatal Demolisher, you pull someone in and knock them away. We got Air Crusher, you literally just throw a big wave of Quake, Spatial Shock Wave, and then now we have what Quake is known most for. It's literal specialty and flagship move, Sea Quake. You summon literal waves from the sea by how much you quake the earth. Let's be honest, you guys all know who Whitebeard is, even if you're not a One Piece fan. We can see that this is fairly accurate. He's doing the Sea Quake right here, literally punching the air and then summoning great tidal waves, which gets frozen by Kuzan. But that's beside the point. Every move we see him do in the anime is exactly what we see in Blox. He literally pulls this guy in and slams his face in, just like Fatal Demolisher. And we even got the Air Crusher right now, where he just throws out a wave of just shock and Quake. Let's just say Blox understood the assignment when it came to the Quake fruit. That's all I have to say on that one. 2 in a row. Dang, I feel like I'm giving out a lot of copyright tiers, but they did Quake justice, bro. Let's go with a copyright tier. Will this continue, though? Next up, we have the Buddha fruit. We all know what the Buddha fruit's known for. This right here. The transformation that turns you into a Buddha. Nobody really even uses all the abilities for this. I mean, we have like ability called Heavenly Impact, Light of Annihilation, which is actually surprisingly long range attack, Retribution Dash, where you kind of grab people, and of course, Twilight of the Gods. Honestly, looks very fire in the game. It's also one of the most used fruits. However, that is not the case for the anime because we literally only see it used once, and all Sengoku does, which is the user of Buddha, is just transform into the Buddha. And then he does like the Heavenly Impact, maybe, like he kind of just like punches the ground, which is kind of similar to this, but I'm gonna be honest, literally he didn't do any of these other abilities. Like Light of Annihilation, Twilight of the Gods, Retribution Dash, he didn't do none of those. So Buddha, man, you're gonna go straight into just accuracy. We got the Love Fruit next. Ooh, the next legendary. This one's actually interesting. This got reworked like 2 years ago, and the abilities are way different than they used to be. First off, we have Heart Shot, a long-range heart bow shot. Cupid Zone, shoot out a nice arrow that has a AoE, irresistible attraction. Anyone that's in the circle gets brought closer to you. Flamingo Ride, you literally just summon a flamingo out of nowhere. Like what is this, Naruto summoning jutsu? And then Besto Friendo. Similar to Ghost, you summon a little NPC that fights for you. Now, Boa Hancock, which is the user of the Love Fruit, the anime primarily uses long-range attacks that turn people into stone if you're attracted to it, which is not at all similar to how it works in Blox Fruits. The only ability I guess you could say is kind of similar is this Pistol Kiss one. It's a long-range, just like kind of like love shot, which I guess is kind of similar to Heart Shot. Not really, because this one kind of explodes. I don't know, bro. I'm trying to see what the similarities are. It's not close. So unfortunately, Love Fruit is gonna go in not even close tier. Ooh, next up we got the Creation Fruit. This just got reworked in the game. Used to be the Barrier Fruit, which is actually really accurate to One Piece, which is why they reworked it. How accurate is it now? First off, we have an M1, which is kind of like Barrier Wall. You summon a little wall that blocks attacks, actually. And then after that, we have Batter Up, which you literally shoot yourself out of a cannonball. We have Sleight of Hand, which summons a hand that grabs people. Sword Box summons a box of... I don't even know what that is. It's kind of like Kuro Hisugi from Bleach. And last but not least, we got Magic City, which summons a bunch of barrier towers. And then we got Fortifier, which you literally just start building stairs. Which when compared to the anime, which is used by Bartolomeo, it's not similar at all. Now, while yes, Bartolomeo does have some similarities to the Creation Fruit, being this barrier wall right here, which is kind of similar to the M1. And he also does possess the ability to create stairs out of thin air, but that is where all the similarities end. None of the other abilities he uses throughout the anime are in Blox Fruits. We gotta put it in not even close tier, but I will put it at the top just because of the walls and stairs. Next up, we have the Spider Fruit. Now with this one, we get a good range of abilities like Thermal Laceration, Silk Prison, Overheated Sniper, which is a long range attack, Spider Highway, where we kind of just use webs to fly around like I'm Spider-Man or something. And of course, we get Heavenly Punishment. And as for the anime counterpart, if it's accurate or not, well, you guys can see for the first ability, he is doing the spider flight, except the strings are kind of invisible. But it's there. We also have the long range snipe, which is overheat. I must say, this ability is crazy. Look, he literally just sniped like hundreds of miles away from him at a city. Of course, we got spider web too, which is the web-like ability we saw earlier. And of course, we got the god thread ability, which is the ultimate of spider, which looks very similar to what we saw in Blox fruits. Look at this, exactly the same, making spider in the very accurate tier. I'm actually gonna put it at the top of all these. Must say, the Blox fruits team, they cook with spider. Although it may be time for a rework coming up soon. Who knows? Hopefully we can get one. Next up, we got the sound fruit in Blox fruits. And this one's actually an interesting one. Now, if we look at the abilities of the sound fruit, we can see it's music based. And we even have something called a tempo meter, which the more we use our moves and attacks that hit, we get actually a boost. You guys can see once we use tempo prestissimo, the meter goes up. And once it gets full, it turns yellow and we get a nice little sound boost, which makes us faster and deal more damage. We have a nice range of abilities like symphonic radiance, a disco ball that shoots and hits anybody in the nearby area, and glorious harmony, a big AoE, which looks really nice. Now, the interesting thing about this fruit is it's not based on any power in One Piece. If we look through the wiki of the sound fruit, specifically on the trivia part, we can see right here it says sound fruit is the first fan-made fruit to be added to the game, and it was a concept created by a guy named Aqua 4G. Now, some people have speculated that this fruit is actually based off of Yuta's fruit from the film Red movie of One Piece, but the Blox fruits devs themselves claim this is not true. And to be honest, when you look at her ability and how it's used in the anime, it really is not similar to what it is in Blox fruits. So yeah, sound fruit is gonna go in the no similarities tier. And with sound fruit out the way, we move on to the Phoenix fruit. Now, just to make this quick, we're gonna go ahead and go in our final transformation state, because this is what people care most about the Phoenix, and look at the abilities. First off, we have an M1, which lunges you forward and attacks. We have cremation cannon, which is a bunch of flames, 3 to be exact. We have swift flight, which is a nice flight that dashes you forward. Regeneration flames, and of course we got flaming exodus, which you grab forward someone, but when you grab them, you shoot up, then slam down. In the anime, of course, the main user of Phoenix is Marco, and there's 2 ways he uses this fruit. As you guys can see right now, he is in the hybrid form where he just has the wings and he still has his physical body, which is similar to Blox fruits, because if you untransform and use swift flight, you guys can see we can be in that same state. We can see he's using the full transformation right here, so that's 100% accurate. And on top of that, look at how it looks. Very similar to how the Blox fruits 1 look. This right here could be considered swift flight, I guess. And we even see right here he uses the fireball, except it's not 3, it's only 1. So we technically never seen him to use it that way in the anime. I don't know where Blox fruits got flame exodus from. He didn't do anything similar to that in the anime. And cremation cannon he did use, but not in this way. I'm not going to take too much points away. We're going to put it in very accurate. But that's about the end, because up next we got the portal fruit. This used to be the door fruit and it got revamped to the portal fruit because of that exact reason. They were trying to avoid copyright. But how close is it to the anime now? So we can see this still has kind of some of its like door-like capabilities. For example, world warp, you can teleport to any area and it works similarly to the door fruit, but that's where all the similarities end. Portal dash is nothing like what the door fruit had used for. Same with quantum leap. Parallel escape is because you kind of go in your own pocket dimension, but let me say this last ability is definitely far from anything we saw from the door fruit. Yeah, not even close. Now, the door fruit is used by CP Agent Blue Note. You guys can see right there in the background, there's kind of like a physical door, which is what I meant. It's the C ability on Portal. He can teleport to different places and even go in his own little pocket dimension. But the way it's used in One Piece is not similar to how it is in Blox fruits, other than that one teleport ability. We can see here, though, he's in the pocket dimension, which is kind of like Portal X in Blox fruits, but other than that, we don't really see him use his Devil Fruit all too much, as he mainly relies on his Rokushiki abilities. So to be honest, only 2 abilities that are done completely different between both of the fruits. I gotta put this in the not even close tier, I'm not gonna lie. Let me know if y'all disagree or agree with that in the comments below. But we're moving on to one of the 3rd last legendaries of the game, the Rumble Fruit. Now this one, we have multiple different abilities like Lightning Beast, which is a long range lightning beast attack. Thunderstorm, where you just rain down a bunch of thunder that stuns enemies. Has pretty good AoE too. We got Electric Flash, which allows us to teleport a short period 3 times, and it has a charge capability, so it recharges after some time. Sky Judgment, you shoot down a pillar of lightning, which does a massive amount of stun and good damage. And last but not least, my favorite ability, Thunderball Destruction, a lightning spirit bomb, which explodes and looks very nice. But as for the anime, we can honestly see it's fairly accurate. We can see Sky Judgment done right there, which is one of many abilities that NL does in the anime. I guess we could say this ability here is kind of similar to Lightning Beast, but not really. We don't really see him use Lightning Beast in the anime. Obviously, he does Raigo, which is the Thunderball Destruction here. And we also have him do this cool little transformation. He calls it Amaru. Why did we get that in Blox fruits? Honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, it's not that accurate. We don't see him do anything similar to Lightning Beast, unless we're kind of that team is Lightning Beast. We don't see him do anything like Thunderstorm, and we definitely don't see him do anything like Electric Flash. So really, the only 2 abilities we see him do is Sky Judgment and Thunderball Destruction. That said, I'm still gonna give the Rumble Fruit as accurate tier because they still got the general gist of what a nail did. They just changed it up a little bit. Pain fruit next. First up, we have heavy pain, which summons a paw ability that goes through enemies. We have paw barrage. We have pain nuke, which just summons a big paw and explodes. Self-repel, which is a teleport ability, which allows you just teleport forward. And we have torture, which summons a pink paw that does damage over time to an enemy, kind of like poison damage. Just look at this, bro. First off, we have the teleport right there. We have the little paw, like the shooting paw right there. We got paw barrage, which literally looks 1-to-1 the same. We got paw nuke right here, literally same animation, same looks, and even the way the move functions is exactly the same in the anime. Look at this. He throws it out and it explodes. And yes, even the pink paw. 100% of the moves are accurate to the anime, ladies and gentlemen. Kind of crazy. This is gonna go straight to the top of copyright tier because there's nothing they need to add. They've got it down 100%. And now we get to the last of the legendary fruits, which is the blizzard fruit. This fruit is kind of similar to ice, except it focuses less on trying to freeze people and more on just bombarding people with big effects. Look at this. Snowflake shuriken, whiteout, you summon a tornado of blizzard, howling wind, same thing, except it's more in one place instead of moving. We have tornado flight, which is the same thing. Yeah, 3 moves that literally look the same. And then we have blizzard domain, which is basically the same thing, except just massive. Like, look at that. In the anime, it's not called blizzard, but it's called Yuki Yuki no Mi, and it's used by Monet. And we can see this is kind of blizzard domain. It looks fairly similar, but that's where all the similarities kind of disperse. Because literally every other ability she uses is not like what we see in Blox at all. Like, look at this. She's grabbing him with the snow. She's doing like claw attacks. She's kind of like a harpy too. She has even like a little snow after image or snow clone, shadow clone. Blizzard is going straight in the not even close tier, which marks the last legendary, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost done. We got 13 more fruits to go, and the rest of them are all mythicals. And it starts with the most recently reworked fruit in the game, gravity. Now, as you guys may guess, they reworked this fruit for one reason and one reason only, to avoid copyrights. However, is it still similar? Let's find out. First off, we have singularity, which kind of uses a black hole to suck at enemies and blast them away. We got orbital chain, which you summon a little turret and it shoots little gravity particles at the enemy. We got shooting star, which summons down a meteor from the sky, and then you kind of ride on it. You can also double down as a meteor attacking ability. You don't have to fly on the meteor. You can just use it as an attack. We got gravitational prison, which summons a black hole that sucks up anything and explodes. And last but not least, we got asteroid crash, which summons literally the most massive meteor ever, just explodes. Is it still similar to the anime though? Well, the user of it is named Fujitora in the anime, and it's pretty much the same thing. He has the ability to move things or manipulate things due to his gravity. And what he's doing right here is destroying an entire city and making the city basically become a big like meteor, almost his own makeshift meteor, which I would say is still accurate to Blox, because if you get this gravitational force meter up in full, you guys will see we can do that same ability. I hold it and now it does the exact same thing which Fujitora did. We summon a planetary devastation just like he did. We also see this ability right here where he kind of just summons like forces of gravity on the ground, which once again you can also do in Blox. Look at this, the M1, you can do exactly that. And the last thing that's similar is he has the ability to summon a meteor from the sky. So honestly, it's still pretty similar to Blox fruits, except we just don't see him do this, or this. And we definitely don't see him ride on a meteor like this. That said, the core is still there, so it's gonna go in the middle of accuracy here. Next mythical, Mammoth. And for this one, we're actually gonna use the anime clip first. Now in One Piece, the user of the Mammoth fruit is Jack, and we can see the transformation right here. Only issue, we never really see him actually use this form for attacking often. So yeah, really the only thing we see him do is just this, which is transformation. So in Blox fruits, all of these other abilities we have like Ancient Cutter, True Prehistoric Punt, Colossal Crusher, or even Stampede. We don't get to see any of those in One Piece, which if you ask me, makes Mammoth not even close to you. But what about the T-Rex fruit? Now in Blox fruits, the main thing we have for T-Rex is the transformation. And we also do get a different abilities like M1s, Tail Swipe, we got a nice gigantic leap, Predatory Screech, and of course, last but not least, Hunter's Rage. You grab the enemy with your teeth and slam them down. Now, here's where it gets interesting. In One Piece, the T-Rex fruit is technically not in the anime, but the closest thing is what you see here, which is actually an Allosaurus, not a T-Rex, and it's used by X Drake. And as for abilities, the only real move we see him use in the anime is this one right here, which is kind of similar to Hunter's Rage, where you kind of like grab them and slam them down. Other than that, though, literally none of these other abilities were shown in the anime. So T-Rex, just like Mammoth, is gonna go not even close here. Next up, we got the Dough fruit. Now, Dough actually has a ton of different abilities, so we're just gonna zoom through it. First off, we got Missile Jab, which is a nice like fist of dough that explodes, which if we look at the anime, he kind of does exactly that. We also got Scorching Donut and Piercing Clothesline, which you guys can see. Swings them around town, slams them up. Katakuri does both of these things in the anime, literally the swinging donut, and we have the chestnut, or not chestnut, I forgot what it is. it's even called. Piercing clothesline. Buzz cut, that's what it's called. And last but not least, we got Dofus Fusillade, ladies and gentlemen. Which category very clearly does right here. I mean, this is basically the same thing. The only thing we don't really see Katakuri use is either forms of Pastry River. Like, we don't really see him use this, I don't think. But overall, though, it's gotta go in very accurate here. Next up, Shadow. And we're gonna zoom through this one, and you guys will see why. Now, with the Shadow Fruit, we have a bunch of unique abilities, like Umbrage, where you kind of go in the air, and kind of like Smoke Bomber from earlier. Somber Rebellion, you kind of shoot forward and attack the enemy with a barrage. Shade Nest, a long-range ability, which hits the enemy. Nightmare Leech, you kind of suck up the enemy and take their health. Last but not least, we have Corvus Torment. You kind of explode yourself and keeps the enemy stunned in there for very long. Shadow, however, in Blox Fruits is not at all how it works in One Piece. Gecko Moria, who is the user of the Shadow Fruit in One Piece, his primary ability is to steal shadows away from people and create zombies using their shadows. And he also has a bunch of other different abilities, but none of what we see in Blox Fruits is actually portrayed in the anime. So yeah, this is gonna go in the no similarities tier. It's not even close at all. But maybe the Venom Fruit will be. Now we're just gonna go ahead and go in the transformation state. This is what the Venom transformation looks like. And we get a bunch of different abilities like Poison Daggers, Noxic Fog, basically the same thing except does more damage. Toxic Fog, which is a massive AoE of smoke. And last but not least, Serpent's Wrath. And now for the anime. One of the abilities you guys can see Magellan, which is the user of Venom, uses is Venom Hydra. Summons 3 little Venom dragons, which is actually kind of like Serpent's Wrath, or if you really want to be super specific, Noxus Shot. We also have Crollo Ball, which is kind of like Poison Daggers. Venom Road, which is literally the Venom Flight ability I just used. We even got Poison Gas, which is exactly what I use here, Toxic Fog. And of course, we can't forget the Transformation Demon. This is the transform state in the anime. And while it may look a lot different in One Piece, I will say overall the premise is there. Venom is gonna go in very accurate too. Now we're on to the Control Fruit, and this is gonna be interesting. Now with this, we get first ability, which is Room. You summon a room. Actually, wait, I don't even know why I used this ability in here. There we go. You guys can see the entire room I've summoned, and we can only use our abilities in this room. This is the unique passive of this fruit. So you guys can see I get Levitate. I can summon a rock out of any material in the game. We also get a Teleport. I can teleport into any area in the room, and I get 2 extra abilities like Gamma Rush and Echo Knife, which only works if I have a target to hit. But yeah, those abilities are pretty decent. And obviously in One Piece, the user of the Control Fruit is Law. We can see he did the room ability right there, and that is kind of like the Levitate ability where we summon the rocks, except he just used it on a human. We can also see he does this ability right here where he actually teleports a thing instead of himself, so it works in both ways. Basically, everything we've seen in Blox Fruits was done in the anime. That said, Control is gonna go in the very accurate tier. Now with the gas, we have a lot of interesting abilities like Suffocating Fume, which you kind of lunge forward and hit the enemy with some gas. Bursting Vapor, similar thing, you hit him with like a bunch of gas abilities. Traveling Gas, you kind of fly. And then we have Smog Demons. You summon a bunch of little demons and they explode on impact. Another thing you'll notice is we have this gas meter, and when it gets full, we'll be able to transform into this little gas giant. Our abilities change a little bit, but for the most part, most of them are similar. Now Suffocating Fume is a long range attack, and we have Bursting Vapor, which is a nice little gas swipe. We still get Smog Demons, it's the same, it just like summons more. And the last thing that changes is Traveling Gas is now an attack. You stab an enemy and launch him back. This, however, is not similar at all to how Caesar Clown uses gas in One Piece. He focuses on primarily like invisible type moves and some longer range type moves like Gas Robe right here, which we don't see in Blox Fruits. He even has this ability to summon little goops of poison gas, which I guess is kind of similar to Smog Demons, but not really, let's be real. The only real thing we could say is like super similar to Blox Fruits is Caesar Clown does do this kind of like transform gas state like this, which is a similar premise to what we see here, but it's just not executed at all the same. So yeah, there's just no similarities. I'm gonna put it in not even close tier. And with that, we move on to the Spirit Fruit. We actually get a bunch of unique powers with this one, such as the ability to summon little homies like this. We just summoned a little tree, and we can also summon a nice other tree. Oh wait, this is a mushroom. This is the tree. And I think there's a frog one, but it just spawned a mushroom. You guys get the point. Now our actual abilities, you guys can see we have a Fire Devil on this side and an Ice Devil on this side. And some of our abilities correlate with that. Frostfire Grass, we summon the Ice ability and come out and freeze. Wrath of Ra, we shoot the Fire ability and it does a nice fire attack. Sky Ruler, we ride on one of them and we basically just fly. Wrath of Shu, the Ice one once again. End of Times, we combine both of them into a nice beamed attack. Which when we compare her abilities to the anime, it's kind of similar. You can see here Big Mom using the ability to summon life and just create homies. Like she turns this umbrella to just a monster. We can also see Big Mom riding on Prometheus Cloud right here, which I mean doesn't look exactly the same, but it's pretty similar. And the last thing we kind of see Big Mom use that's similar to Blox Fruits is where she combines all of her souls right here into one just like combined beam. She calls it Macer Cannon. Overall, Blox Fruits did a pretty good job of making it similar to One Piece. I'm gonna put this in the accurate tier. It's gonna go towards the top too. Now with the leopard fruit, we have a bunch of different abilities. One of them being finger revolver, a barrage of just like Rokushiki attacks, which we see very clearly being done right here. He uses that against Luffy. Up next, we got body flicker, which is kind of like a teleport, and then after image assault, kind of like the same thing, I guess, which we can see Rob Lucci doing something kind of like that right here. It's called Soru. Next up, we got spiraling kick, which is a nice long range attack, which explodes at the end, which looks exactly like this. It's called Tempest Kick in the anime. Only difference is this one glows blue. And of course, we got the hybrid leopard form in One Piece. This is Rob Lucci's most infamous form that he used to fight off against Luffy, which we see is very accurately done in Blox fruits. What more is there to say, man? Leopard fruit has got to go in straight copyright tier. And next up, we get to the Yeti fruit in Blox fruits, which is interesting because this fruit literally was completely fan-made. Even earlier with the sound fruit, you could argue that this was inspired from Yuta's fruit, and I think it was in some way. But the Yeti fruit, it's not inspired by nothing. So yeah, this thing right here, completely made by Blox fruits, so it's got to go in no similarities, of course. Second to last fruit in the game, we have Kitsune, which is another interesting fruit because just like Yeti, this is completely fan-made. All these abilities you see right here, Accursed Enchantment, Tales of Burning Agony, Foxfire Disruption, even Wild Assault, completely fan-made and is not based off of One Piece. All but one thing. Kitsune has a Tails mechanic, as you can see right here. And once you get to full Tails, you're able to transform into this. This is the transformed Kitsune form, which a ton of fans of One Piece have speculated is similar to the transformation state of Yamato. This is what it looks like right here, but watch when she's running. Specifically right here, this hybrid form that she uses, or I think this is the full form, there's a little bit of similarity there, but I don't think it's similar enough to say that this was referenced from that. So Kitsune has to go in no similarities tier, which leaves one fruit left, the dragon. And for this one, we're actually going to showcase Dragon East. Full transformation ready, let's get into it. Now with Dragon East, once you transform, we have a nice little snake-like looking or eel-like looking dragon, which we can see Kaido does in the anime, and honestly this looks pretty similar to what we see on Blox fruits. And first off, we have this little fire breath ability. We shoot fire from our mouth, which Kaido does right here. We also get this ability called Heat Wave Cannon. It's kind of similar, it's just more of a beam, fire beam. Kaido very clearly does that here. Now this next ability, which is Infernal Pincer, is one of them that you could technically say isn't from the anime, but we'll see in a sec. When Kaido does it in the anime, it's called Tatsumaki Kaifu. He kind of just like starts spinning around, which is what you see here. Honestly, if you ask me, this is accurate. And other than that, the only two abilities Kaido didn't really do is Draconic Soar and this move right here, Scorching Downfall. Which honestly, if you ask me, even though these two abilities weren't in the anime, this is still honestly pretty close. So the last fruit dragon is gonna go in the very accurate tier. And that is all 41 fruits in the game ranked based off the anime. Now I already know there's gonna be a lot of people referencing that a ton of the Blox fruits abilities actually came from that One Piece game. I forget what it was called, like Pirate Warriors, but I mainly just wanted to compare it to the anime. Comment down any mistakes I made, but if you made it this far in the video, make sure to subscribe to my second channel, Winter Clouds 2. We try to speedrun to 100K.